I believe the last downgrade from AAA happened in 2011, so I'm not sure if Friday's downgrade really sends a strong message. But on Friday afternoon, he knew something we didn't. I think the markets should know that the US is no longer a AAA country because the bond market already knows that. That's why I think now is a good time to buy. The United States is having a very tough time right now with money. It's clear that this is bad for crypto markets right now. Bitcoin has been going up and down a lot during this bull run. Not long ago, we had $70,000. We've now gone over $111,000 per coin. We've come a long way since then, and XRP has been following suit. At $3.50 each, I think XRP was at its all-time high. After that, it went all the way back down to 108. Now it's back to almost 250. It's really strange how the prices of all these cryptocurrencies are changing so quickly and in such big ways. But Tom Lee has always been very positive, even when things looked bad. Besides that, he has made a lot of good calls and called things that came true. These days, he talks a lot about the latest news, about the trade war, changes in credit ratings, and how he thinks these things will affect the markets. So that's what we'll talk about next. Tom Lee has taught us some very useful things. This is really cool stuff. Pay close attention. Press like, and then let's begin. Traders said this morning that it would hit a new high. Yes. The test today looks like it will be fun. I don't think there will be many drops today. Most buyers sold off a lot of their shares at the bottom in April and then began to think twice. This means that the market might end up higher than it started. That wasn't what I heard about anger. Yes, that was a good one. Have you heard that place before, or is it your own? Yes, I've heard that anger was sold. Okay? Ken, go ahead. A lot of people don't believe the markets are going to go up because they thought it was just a move that would fail. I think there are 7 people trying to make money on the sidelines, a lot of people betting outside of the US, and a lot of doubt from our big clients. I think you'll have to do a lot of running. Some shorts have already been talked about, though, and many of the hedge fund guys who got it wrong and rage sold, to your point, are in a very different place now in terms of their being short and having positive beta to risk investments are not the same thing. That means I think most people are probably asleep. But if the market is above its 200-day moving average and you're not spending enough, that means people are buying right now. What are your thoughts on changes that might be made to tax policy? It's clear that the market reacted very quickly to the tax news. What about this one? Yes, we should start to think about 2026 now, even though it's only the middle of the year. Tax laws aren't the only thing that can help. It looks like it will happen, but it's okay. Law firms in the US have to pay more than $2 trillion in legal fees. Some say as much as $3 trillion, or even more. It's more important than lowering taxes. Yes. Our wait for the rule has been clear for a while now. Hello, dear Tom Lee. You are always positive. What are you looking at when it comes to the Great Seven? Of course, the Nasdaq is under a lot of stress today, but we kept a close eye on those. We think the Mag 7 will be in charge by the end of the year since it fell first. It washed out because so many people owned it. As a case study, I thought Tesla was very good. The Mag 7 will likely get back to where it was. So by the end of the year, the S&P should reach or even go above its old highs. How does money matter? Of course, A lot of people were looking in that area right away. Have you thought about that since then? It is important to have the money. Yes. You want banks to do well, and they have. If I had to make a case for multiples, one area that comes to mind would be growing financials. This is because these companies have shown they can handle stress during both low interest rates and rising interest rates. In spite of all the trouble, they are also more tech-savvy and have better credit. If you add more money, the number of should go up, and it's true that all boats rise with it. Yes, I'd like to point out that XRP's price has gone up a lot since a lot of cash has come back into the system. However, it's still not altcoin season. Yes, Bitcoin did reach a high point of $100,000, and XRP went from around $2 to $250 at its highest point. That's great. But that's not even close to what prices did in November, when it was really alt-run season. All of these other coins, like Solana, were doing really well. I think we'll have at least one more of them in 2026. Also, I think that's when the amazing 7 will start to see a lot of price change. A few more things will happen, and all of our favorite cryptocurrencies will finally be able to be bought and sold. Tom Lee is going to add to this and help make it more clear. Listen carefully to what he says, and then wait until the end to learn something very important. Yes, they can bend both ways. I think that deregulation could make it easier to export tax cuts that help people make more money. I also think that the S&P multiple should go up because we've taken away another black swan event. Remember when there was a black swan event between April and February and April? Do you think the grade weakens the case for cutting taxes? No, I don't think it will make a difference. In the end, trouble is what you think it should be, not a market seen through the eyes of the market. In a political sense, that is, yes, it might. However, the US was no longer truly AAA, since it was only one of 3. In other words, it's not even a split AAA grade. Right now, we can see this big change. Yes? For example, a study from the US shows that people think inflation will be very high, but it is actually very low. People become very careful and cut back on spending during a slump. That's why I think people should keep their jobs and their faith. So you trust the numbers more than your feelings? You've never seen such a big difference between inflation and paid income, do you? I believe the customer has a small chance to feel even better, as long as prices don't go through the roof. Wow. Yes. A lot of the people who used to work at JPM think that the hard numbers will win out in the end. Yes. I'm paying attention because JP Morgan does a lot of work and has my credit card information. That's why we need to see it. It's clear that paying off credit card debt will be a big part of this going forward. Now, here's the deal. Yes, as money has become easier to get, the amount of debt has always gone through the roof. It makes sense to connect the two. Yes? More money and debt? Of course. There is more money in circulation, so more people borrow money and get loans. It means